Oh, I need to look for the play button. Here we go. It was blocked.
Due to COVID-19, this meeting will be conducted as a Zoom meeting pursuant to the provisions of Assembly Bill 361, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act. This meeting is being live streamed on the CCTA website. The chair will call upon members, staff, and other speakers by name. Please speak clearly and state your name before giving comments or remarks. Persons participating via Zoom with their cameras enabled are reminded that their activities are visible to viewers. Members participating by Zoom wishing to speak should physically raise their hand and unmute their mic when called upon. Members should mute their mics when done speaking. Citizens participating by Zoom wishing to speak should use the Raise Hand feature or dial *9 if participating via phone, and the chair or staff will call upon them at the appropriate time. Citizens will have 3 minutes to speak. After 3 minutes, staff will lower their hand and mute their mic. Participants via phone will be called upon by the last 4 digits of their phone number. It is requested that public speakers state their names and organization, but providing such information is voluntary. Written public comments received in accordance with the teleconferencing special notice for public comment guidelines are printed on the meeting agenda. If authors of the written correspondence would like to speak, they should raise their hand and the chair will call upon them at the appropriate time. All written correspondence received after that and during the meeting will be entered into the record. A roll call vote will be taken for all action items. Thank you for participating in a meeting of the Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
And the good news is that I saw that our chair is in process. So I give control of the meeting to our chair, Teresa Geringer.
I don't know. I think she should be fired, and you started off and did such a great job. But anyway, thank you. So I'm so sorry that I am running late. No excuses. And so we did the piece of it. So Jacqueline, can you do the roll call vote, or did that happen before?
We have not done roll call yet, so I'll go ahead and run through the roll call right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Barnes. Member Burgess, Member Braxton, Member Carlson,
Here.
Member Franklin, Member Hirsch, Member Levin, Member McCrary,
Here.
Member Meyer,
Here.
Member Sauce,
Here.
Member Thompson,
Yeah.
Member Toth,
Here.
Member Xavier,
Here.
Vice Chair Haskew,
Here.
and Chair Geringer.
Here.
Thank you. So we have all members present except for members Barnes, Burgess, Braxton, Franklin, Hirsch, and Levin, and we do have a quorum.
Great. Thank you very much. And we will now move on to public comment for items that are not on the agenda. And so are there any members of the public who would like to speak to the task force on items not on the agenda, but under the purview of the body? And I don't see any hands raised. Do you, Jackie?
I do not see any hands raised, but it was mentioned by our staff, Ying Smith. Wanted to do an introduction of our new staff, Rashida Kamara.
Great.
Rashida, I don't know if you want to say a few words.
Hi.
That's very few words, Rashida, but we welcome you to, of course, share more. And we're very excited to be having this announcement.
Thank you. As you all know, I've worked with many of you before on this very task force, which is the Accessible Transportation Task Force. Also, for many of you, I've worked with you either as operator or as a client. I've been a client, I've been a contractor for BART when I worked for East Bay Paratransit. I've definitely been the accessibility manager when I worked for board member Sauce. I've been a partner with Rob at Westcott. I've worked with many of you with Debbie Toth under a different program. So we're all family here. So I'm not new. We're just continuing the work that we're already doing. So I'm glad to be we're running the same highway, the same journey. I'm just driving a different car, but we got one destination and we got to get there. So anyway, that's what I have to say about my introduction in this particular new role. And I'm certainly looking forward to working with you all in this new capacity. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Ying, did you want to add anything else or?
Oh, just very quickly. So yeah, I'm just really happy that Rashida is here. And she hasn't had a free moment ever since she started. That's the CCTA way. But she's just rolling along. And I will continue to support all of you. But this is a transition meeting, actually. Starting your next meeting, you will see Rashida more than you see me. So, which will be a really good thing for everyone.
Well, actually, I see shaking of heads. And so continuing that transition and having that partnership, but thank you very much, Ying, for all of the work that you have done. I mean, it was just a little over a year ago that you jumped onto I can't use all of Rashida's very good analogies, but that you jumped into our autonomous shuttle and started actually helping to make sure that the programming was right on that and we were going in the right direction. So thank you very, very much for all that you've done. And I know that you'll still be working closely with Rashida and others at CCTA and our partners on that. And Rashida, you said it the best, all, if not all, most of the people who have been working on this and bringing it this far over the last several years and helping to make sure that this doesn't become, I see John Cunningham's face, but there you go. That it doesn't, I'm going to channel a little bit of John Cunningham, that this plan, the strategic plan doesn't end up on a shelf somewhere, and a little bit channeling Debbie Toth on that and many others. So very confident and excited about the direction that we're taking, and we're all in. I hope you have a big car. We're all in that car with you. So we will keep moving that forward. So thank you very much. And a round of applause. So now we'll move on to the consent calendar. And are there any comments on the record of or summary of actions from the June 8th meeting? And are there any members of the public who would like to comment on the summary of action from the June 8th meeting? Not seeing anybody jumping forward. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yes, you do. Move to approve.
Thank you. And a second?
I will, just because I love following Luella.
Okay, so Debbie got in just before Supervisor Carlson. So, so we have a motion by Vice Chair Haskew and a second by Member Toth. And so, because we're virtual, we have to do a roll call vote? Yeah. So
Correct. Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, thank you, Jackie.
Okay. Member Barnes, Member Burgess, Member Braxton, Member Carlson.
Yes.
Member Franklin,
Yes.
Member Hirsch, Member Levin, Member McCrary,
Yes.
Member Meyer,
Yes.
Member Sauce,
Abstain.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Toth,
Yes.
Member Xavier,
Aye.
Vice Chair Haskew,
Yes.
Chair Geringer.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Barnes, Burgess, Braxton, Hirsch, and Levin absent, and Member Sauce abstaining.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to our regular agenda items, starting with agenda item A, which is our approval to proceed with the City of San Pablo Medical Trips One Seat Pilot Program. And I'm going to hand this over to staff, and I will look to see who unmutes first.
That'll be Rashida.
Yay, thank you.
Rashida is going to unmute first, and I'm going to share my screen because Naomi and I have a small presentation. Can everybody see my screen? Okay. So the City of the San Pablo Medical Trips Pilot, as you know, there is a one-seat ride program. So the Medical Trips Pilot is actually a one-seat ride opportunity for individuals that are East Bay Paratransit riders that are portion of the West County area in order for them to go to medical trips without transferring. As you all know, there is a one-seat ride program that does exist. East Bay Paratransit is not currently part of that program. And as a result, members of West County have been unable to participate in some transferless rides in going to various appointments. So as a result, even though the San Pablo Medical Trips Pilot was not part of the original 21 or 22 strategies of the ATSP, it became very evident that in order to engage all of Contra Costa County residents in the opportunity to benefit from this, with the help of Nelson Nygaard, with the help of WCTAC, we were able to identify a subset of individuals in West County, basically Southern West County, that could participate a few days a week in transferless trips, specifically to medical appointments. And as brought out in our presentation, there were several reasons in order to start this program. As mentioned earlier, we had some individuals that were East Bay Paratransit riders that attended medical appointments at the County Medical Center. We had older riders, non-ADA eligible individuals. The proposed pilots do meet some of the strategies, especially some of the core values of the strategies, and that's basically to improve connectivity, to eliminate transfers, potentially have some same-day programs, and initiating this pilot basically goes in line with our core values. So regarding, let's see, can you guys see my screen? Can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Okay. So here are some of the core points of the program. Shuttle on demand. Some of the items that we looked at were shuttle on demand, GoGo Grandparent, Lyft and Uber, a couple of shuttle rides with some of the city programs, how many days a week, which destinations will they go to, which destinations will they come from, how can we incorporate travel training in this, how long will the pilot last? These are some of the analytical views that we had to look at in order to come up with the program. After working with Nelson Nygaard, as I mentioned earlier, we did come up with a proposal. We were able to streamline it a little bit so that we can get the ball rolling. As you all know, with the ATSP program, one of the biggest lifts is developing the coordinated entity. But one of the things that we don't want to do at 2CTA is wait for this coordinated entity in order to establish real life or resolve real life issues. What can we do to resolve real life issues as we're trying to develop the coordinated entity? And the San Pablo Medical 1C pilot were one of the things that, you know what, if we put our tools together, we can actually get this going right now. So we established 3 round-trip shuttle trips per day. The participations for these are Contra Costa residents, seniors, and disabled individuals within the 94806 zip code area, 50 and above, or persons with disabilities 18 years or over. There's going to be a fare structure associated with that. And the idea is to start by the end of this year or the last quarter of the fiscal year, meaning January of next year. The length of the pilot is going to be about 18 months. So the shuttle trips per month that have been initially identified is about 77 seats per month, assuming that they're round trips, will be about 542. These are all estimates. It's important to know that as we start this very necessary program, that there are estimates. The beauty of a pilot is that it goes from being a study that we get to put on a shelf to solving some real life issues. So even though we're requesting to approve this pilot and we've put some projections in front of you, it's important to know that some of these projections, the minute you start putting a good service on the road, they may change. So I'm going to be looking for some flexibility as we start to discover the real life needs of individuals when we start putting these programs out. So we're anticipating the number of shuttles during these 18 months to be about 1,300. Daily trip time, about 7 hours per month, about 90. And of course, an annual cost for these 18 months to be about 170,000, with the caveats that I mentioned earlier. Remember, everybody, we're in the people business. So we may give these wonderful presentations with almost, I was almost afraid to say, is it really going to be $824? So I want to make sure that it goes on record that we are definitely in a people business. So some of our next steps is finalizing the funding sources. Although some of these dates are a bit old, August 17, September 21, October 12th, this is this meeting where we're going to make this strong recommendation. WCTAC is actually on this ATSP meeting today. They plan to go to their board on October 27th. And then November 2nd, I've already prepared a recommendation for the pilot and the funding allocation of Measure X funds to go through our planning committee. And then, of course, board approval November 15th. But the purpose of this meeting today is to put this pilot in front of the ATSP committee and to request their approval to push this program forward so that we can move through the next steps, and that these necessary trips, these transferless trips that prove to provide so much independence for our riders of West County to take advantage of this and kind of get on with their daily lives. Thank you very much. Before I hand it over to the committee for questions, I will just hand it over to Naomi Armenta, who's been working with us through Nelson Nygaard, to see if there's anything that she needs to add. And if there's nothing that she needs to add, she's definitely going to join me with this presentation to answer any questions that the committee members may have before moving on with potentially this approval. And I'll stop share.
Thank you, Rashida. I think that pretty much covered everything. I just want to reemphasize the point that some of the details in the tables are still being fine-tuned. Sorry, I didn't realize that I didn't get my video on. I thought I had. But yeah, we are in active communication with our partners, and we are fine-tuning some of those things, so nothing dramatically different from what you've seen. And I think I'll stop there.
Yeah,
We'll be happy to
Chair,
take
may
questions.
may I just recognize John Nemeth from WCTAC, as well as Jean Clark from City of San Pablo. And this is really a partnership with those two agencies, and also is also reflected in the funding, how we put together the funding plan. And WCTAC is really in support of this program by bringing a staff recommendation, John, by bringing a staff recommendation to their board. So I just want to recognize the them being here today and also help answer your questions. I think that's all from staff.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I was going to ask if there are any changes, comments, or anything from the task force members, and I will encourage folks to raise their virtual hand, but we'll go and we'll recognize Debbie Toth.
Thank you, Chair Geringer. I have a couple of things because I've been thinking about this, because this has come up a number of times that we're piloting a program that some of this population Medi-Cal should be paying the cost. So I have brought this up on a number of occasions, and I'm wondering if it would help get it passed with the CCTA board and the San Pablo, I'm assuming City Council, that we look to see if we can bill Medi-Cal for the trips who folks are on Contra Costa Health Plan. If they're enrolled as a member of Contra Costa Health Plan, then it is a requirement by law that they pay for non-emergency medical transport trips. So it may be a way to collect some of the money, so it's not coming out of the city of San Pablo and it's not coming out of Measure J, it's actually coming from the correct source. So you keep the pilot program, you keep your running of the program. Like it, to me, that's a win-win. Gets past the thing where I feel like we're pulling transportation dollars where health dollars are supposed to be paying for it. So it solves that problem. Just a thought suggestion. Also, I want to thank the city of San Pablo. I think the city of San Pablo is always a leader. They always love on their elders. They always are willing to do and try. And I just want to recognize and thank them for that. And I am thrilled as hell to have Rashida at CCTA. That's all.
Okay, thank you. And for the record, thrilled. And Rita Xavier, and then member Sauce, Renata Sauce.
Hi, everybody. I'm on the San Pablo City Council and have for many years been a member of the Senior Center and taken part in all of their activities and such. So I know the seniors. I know them by name. I know a lot of them in reference to what Debbie Toys just said. A lot of them are not on Medi-Cal, so that wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't be able to collect for those particular people. Some of them are, some of them are not. I am so excited about this program because I want to give you a couple of examples, or at least one. Tomorrow, I have an eye scan in Martinez. I wish this was already happening because I've had to go jump through hoops to get transportation to take me to Martinez tomorrow for the eye scan. I was part of a travel training trip through WICTAC to go to Martinez with Joanna and Janet, our travel trainers. It would take, even with that, 3 bus trips in each direction to get to Martinez. The seniors that were on this trip, you know, it was explained to them that San Pablo could take them to Richmond Parkway Transit Center. Then you have to get one WestCat bus to the Hercules Transit Center, then another WestCat bus to Martinez. So that's 3 buses each way. And you hope the schedules match up somehow. I think that's kind of likely impossible for most of those seniors. It's a daunting problem. I'm going to state, I was in court a couple of weeks ago, testifying on behalf of myself and my city because I had a death threat last year and it's still ongoing. I mentioned in the courtroom when I was asked if I was nervous because of the perpetrator. I said for a while until I found out he was still incarcerated. I said because I don't drive, I have to walk to the bus. So I was apprehensive. And the judge, who was an older gentleman, said to me, and getting to Martinez is impossible. That man recognized the problem right away. And I said, yes. So those are my personal experiences. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited.
Rita, thank you very much. And I've said this in other meetings, but your advocacy and speaking up has definitely impacted the process that we have been going through over the last several years in terms of sharing exactly why we're, doing the work that we're doing. And, as Rashida said, it is about the people and about those individuals who are using the services and they're not there. The services are not there. So thank you for continuing to advocate and to speak up with us. So thank you. I want to, as I welcome Renata Sauce to speak, I don't know if this happened before I came on, but I do want to welcome Renata to the task force. She was the appointment or is the appointment when Councilmember Mayor Hudson, who has been a longtime member of the task force and the strategic plan effort, has stepped off of many of his duties, but and this was one of them. But I want to welcome Renata, who is very active in transportation and is council person from Moraga. And if you're mayor, I apologize that I didn't have the title.
Yeah, that too, but that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I'm delighted to be here. I can't possibly fill Dave's shoes, but I will do the best to contribute to this group's effort. And I am very glad to serve, because I think this is a really, really worthy endeavor, and I'm really privileged and honored to be a part of it. I just, as Rita's comments underscored, and as Rashida, when she tells the stories of people who have availed themselves of the One Seat program, it really is transformative. It is life-changing, and it is so impactful. So I think this is absolutely the right thing to do. And I would just encourage, as this makes its way, and Rashida, you may be intending to do this anyway, but as this makes its way through the system, I think the testimonials are just the most powerful evidence of why it should be green-lighted. And then in terms of the estimates, yes, it's a pilot, but I think we are getting estimates from somebody who knows this area incredibly well based on experience. So I'm very comfortable with them, and I know that they'll be updated as necessary, and look forward to this happening. Thank you.
Great, thank you for those comments. Are there any other members of the task force who would like to speak to this item or who have any questions? I don't see any hands raised. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this item? And thank you and welcome, Mr. Nemeth.
Yes, hi there,
Hi.
Commissioner Geringer, the John Nemeth, Executive Director of WICTAC. And I just want to say, I know you're used to seeing Joanna Pollock here at this meeting. She's on vacation this week, so I'm filling in for her. But this is an idea that's been bouncing around West County for a long time. And I think without the willingness of authority staff and county staff and the CCTA's consultant Naomi to listen and be willing to kind of refine this idea and make it more concrete, I don't think we'd really have anything to deliver. So I really appreciate the authority staff helping to make this a real tangible idea. Also really appreciate that we have an operator in the city of San Pablo who has worked through all the details with us here. It wouldn't be possible without that too. So it really is a true collaboration and partnership. And I think it does fit the spirit of the ATSP in that we're breaking out of the jurisdictional and service area traditional boundaries that make certain kinds of trips kind of challenging, and just testing what the demand and interest may be like for these kinds of trips, and maybe building towards some other ideas that could build on this in the future. So fits the spirit, and just really excited to see it kind of coming together here.
Great, thank you. And then with the city of San Pablo, Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I really just wanted to make a comment to Board Member Toth's request about Medicare. So we did absolutely hear that. Medi-Cal, excuse me, you're right, Medi-Cal. That we absolutely did hear that, and that kind of, when we're putting those details together, we are going to add that to the application, because you had said maybe we could add that to the application. So that will be updated and on our application as people apply through it. Now, the whole billing and collecting money, I'm not even gonna, but we did hear you. So that is one of the details that's going to be in there. And again, thank you all for the support. And I'm just wanted to say thank you again so much to San Pablo City Council member Xavier, who has just really been amazing and in allowing to do this. So thank you.
Great. So any other members of the public? Okay, so coming back to the task force, are there any other questions or comments, or do I have a motion?
I move.
Okay, so we have a motion by task force member Toth. Do we have a second?
I second, Xavier.
Okay, thank you. And a second by member Xavier and the City of San Pablo councilperson. So Jackie, will you conduct the roll call vote?
Thank you. Member Barnes? Member Burgess? Member Braxton? Member Carlson?
Yes.
Member Franklin?
Yes.
Member Hirsch? Member Levin? Member McCrary?
Yes, absolutely.
Member Meyer?
Yes.
Member Sauce?
Yes.
Member Thompson?
Yes.
Member Toth?
Yes.
Member Xavier?
Yes.
Vice Chair Haskew?
Yes.
Chair Geringer?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes unanimously with members Barnes, Burgess, Braxton, Hirsch, and Levin absent.
Great, and thank you all again, and thank you to staff, and lots of thank yous going around, well deserved, and here's to much success with the pilot program. So we'll move on now to agenda item 4B, making sure I'm keeping my numbering, an update on the coordinating entity establishment, and I will turn this back to Rashida.
Yes, thank you very much. This is definitely going to be an interesting update. I have a screen to share again. Please forgive me. Let me get my screen set up.
While Rashida is setting that up, has everyone met Belinda Lawrence Newman? She's our consultant working. I believe many of you met her before.
Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here.
Thank
you for that introduction, Ying. So Belinda definitely has been working with us because as many of you know, one of the bigger lift, as I mentioned earlier, was the establishment of the CE, or the coordinated entity. I personally like to refer to the coordinated entity as the mothership. There's a lot of agencies. We're providing a lot of transportation services in Contra Costa County, but during the ATSP study, it was discovered that the coordination, the accountability could definitely be a lot better. And so the coordinated entity was an idea that was established. It's not a foreign idea. It does exist in other areas. In order to help us with this particular gap, coordinating services, providing a one-stop shop for members of Contra Costa County to understand what their travel options are and to keep up with demographics, keep up with trends, provide a call center, and also identify ongoing challenges, not just the challenges that were identified 3 years ago during the study before COVID, but just the ongoing challenges, so that this is an entity that is dynamic and it kind of moves and lives and breathes with the residents of Contra Costa County. So in its establishment, there were a number of things. I keep saying that it's a heavy lift. Along with Belinda and her team, when we put together this presentation, we wanted to basically remind everyone. This whole project started during COVID. And even though we've had several meetings, it was important to as we were transitioning with me and Belinda and developing a different team to work this project, that we talk about where we came from, how far we came from in the establishment of this entity, and remind everyone as to the reasons why it's important to do this, and to bring everybody along on the journey as we establish this. It's been a while since transportation has been through such a shift. If we remember, it was 30 years ago that the ADA was established, and it completely changed the way transportation was done. When you think about Contra Costa County, this is an opportunity for us to change the way transportation is being provided for our customers. And so giving an update on where we are on the CE, we thought was important. So this is a brief slideshow on where we were, where we are, and where we're going, so that we kind of keep up with it. And we are really engaged in this particular process, and we're really being all inclusive, especially when it comes to the makeup of this task force, to make sure that we're really speaking on behalf of the people, on behalf of the transit agencies that already exist, and on behalf of the collaborative efforts that are necessary to move this forward. So where we were, the guiding principles were adopted in 2022, February to be exact. A discovery process was conducted. There were interviews that were done by community partners, surveys of operators that were done. The task force decided to develop a hybrid system where we would partner 2CTA as a congestion management company and a nonprofit system to develop this coordinated entity with the support of the existing transit agency. As we mentioned earlier, and we introduced Belinda and Lyons Newman Consulting Services, they provided a lot of background and a lot of know-how in how do we put together such a hybrid system, and they help us to put together the pros and cons. When we think about the way entities have been established in the past, it's been all or none. There have been several missions depending on how the entity is established. Our goal in adopting a hybrid entity was to get the best out of all the worlds that we could possibly get, so that it could benefit our rider, our constituents. So the 2CTA board actually approved the establishment of the CE at the end of the year of 2022. Okay. After that was done, what has been accomplished so far? So between January and September of this year, if you can believe it, we're already in 2023, there was a lot of dialogue. The dialogue happened between our partners, and our partners included not only nonprofit partners, our transportation agencies, our social service agencies. In other words, all the stakeholders that we could possibly think of, including our riders, in different forums and different formats on how the establishment of the CE would work. We clarified all the unique values that were going to be offered by the CE. In other words, a focused system of coordination, which is key, because there are some systems out there, but how do we coordinate them to make them better for our rider? Advocacy, there's a lot of advocacy out there. How do we keep them singularly focused? Our funding development, we know we have Measure X funds and other funds. Cost reductions, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to be able to make sure that whatever funding we have, we're actually moving people for their lifestyle, for what they want to do. And trusted leadership. Are we getting the right people in the right place to do the right thing? We wanted to define the core functions of the CE. a central point of information, facilitating system coordination, and assessing the needs, as I mentioned earlier, making sure that it's dynamic, that the needs are not stale, that they're always relevant to the way that our passengers move, how they're accessing medical appointments, whatever is relevant to our passenger, we needed to make sure that the CE was plugged into that. And we needed to make sure that we were designing a program that improved the system's needs, and we needed to mobilize the resources. One of the biggest things that 2CTA needed to do was to hire a program manager that would help facilitate all of this, i.e. yours truly. I came on, and that's one of the milestones that they did. So now that that has happened, we need to talk about where we're going. Right? Where we're going. Our old glory is not going to define us. There's still a lot of work to do. So some of the next steps include building the agreement on the roles and responsibilities. So even though we've worked with our partners to outline a draft, we need to build it, we need to solidify it, and we need to bring it not only to the ATSP task force, but also to all the different board members so that they can all have buy-in, that these are the roles and responsibilities. We're not going to be stepping on each other's toes, but we're understanding that we're building a partnership that is going to last a very, very long time, and that our riders are going to benefit from this partnership. We're going to explore the governance associated with this hybrid structure and identify how this governance structure will work for everybody. Later on, our plan is to bring these updates to you regularly so that you can be part of the process. For several months, we spent behind the scenes trying to figure out, will this structure work versus will this structure work? Well, the idea is that we don't have to guess which structure is going to work, and we don't have to assume which structure is going to work. The key to the coordinated entity is coordination, is collaboration. So bring it in front of the task force, the working group, the different boards. Every step of the way is so that we're all engaged in this process, so we fully understand how this coordinated entity is going to work. One of the things that Belinda and her team have done along with 2CTA is that they've narrowed down at least 3 possible governance structure. And we're going to be working to bring those governance structure to the different groups that I mentioned earlier so that everybody is engaged in this process. And as we continue to make decisions about this, we know that every voice is heard as part of the decision-making process so that passengers, stakeholders all feel involved in this new dynamic way in which we're delivering transportation services to our customers. And on that note, Belinda and I stand ready to ask any questions, to answer any questions regarding this update on what we have accomplished so far and what you should expect to see in the next coming months regarding the structure or the establishment of the coordinated entity. And we're willing to take questions.
Great, thank you very much, and for that very thorough reminder of where we've been. I think that's very important, even for those of us who have, maybe especially for those of us who have been along various parts of the journey. So are there any questions or comments from task force members? And I didn't say this at the beginning, but I know you all read your agendas. This is an information only item. It's not an action item. And so now's your opportunity to weigh in, but I see lots of nodding of heads and smiles. And so thank you very much. And we will move on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 4C, Office of Accessibility and Equity and Coordinating Entity 2023 updated work plan. And I'm going to turn it back over to Rashida. Actually, next time we'll just let Rashida do all the meeting. She can call for public comments and no, anyway, Rashida, please take it away.
Ying wasn't kidding when she said this was a transition meeting.
Yep.
So we have an update on the work plan. As I mentioned earlier, and I do have a small a small document that I'm going to share, but I just wanted to speak just a little bit about why the work plan is being updated. In the past work plan, we focused a lot on the strategies, or we focused on the coordinated entity, or we talked about potential pilots that we were working on to initiate. I think it was important to let everybody know that some of the tasks associated with this overall plan will move faster than others. Some of them are going to be of a little bit of a heavy lift. But we have redeveloped the workflow so that everyone, all the stakeholders can go along with the journey. You can see what strategies are have been prioritized, who our willing partners are with the strategies, where we are with the coordinated entity, so that 6 months from now, as we're rolling out programs, you don't get a chance to say, well, what's going on with the coordinated entity? You know, what's happening? It's been 6 months since an update. So we decided to roll out a workflow that puts all of it in front of us. So you can see the timeline, potentially the challenges that are happening, but more importantly, you get a chance to see the good work that's happening as we're developing all of this. So the vision of the work plan just is going to look a little bit different. And with that, I'm going to share my screen, and I'll be more than happy to share my screen. Everybody see my screen, or do I need to blow it up just a little bit? Look, can I see my screen? Can everybody see my screen?
We can.
Okay. So the workflow that you got in your packet is something that we're going to be tweaking just a little bit at a time as we have these meetings. But as you can see, on the very far left corner, we have some of the strategies or the action items that needed to take place. As an example, the establishment of the task force and its meetings, the establishment of the coordinated entity, its functions. When you go down to tier 1, which is this gray bar, we're talking about medical trip pilots, expanding and existing new volunteer programs. So these are the you know, what we like to call the butts in the seat, the people actually using the service, the people actually making good of the service that are necessary. And then when you look at our other columns closer to the right, we're talking about what needs to happen to make it happen. So we're identifying funding sources. What's the status of some of these programs, whether it's the coordinated entity, whether it's a specific strategy? What are the next steps regarding these action items? Is it something that we need to bring to any committee member for approval? Is it funding that we need to find out for them? And who are the partner agencies? It's very important because the biggest portion of this project is the collaboration. It's the coordinated entity, the coordination with the different agencies. So making sure that we clearly identify who our partners are. And then, of course, the CEs, the status and roles associated with the CE, the next steps associated with the CE. So with this particular report, you can at a glance, and, you know, we'll be more than happy to take suggestions, but at a glance, I'm going to stop sharing. You should be able to see from this workflow document all the things that we're tackling. And as we give this document to you before meetings, it gives you something to chew on, something actually tangible. So when you pose your questions, it's not about what I just said, but what's on the document. So if there are concerns, if there are ideas and suggestions that we need to be looking at, because this is a collaborative effort, you are able to bring these to these meetings so that we can take them into consideration, work through them. So by the time we get to the next meeting, you have not only given us your contribution, we have reviewed your contribution, we've actually looked to see if these contributions are viable, and then we've applied them to the next steps so that we continue building on what we're doing. And what this does is that it includes everybody in this process. Those of you that are advocates, those of you that are council members, those of you that are actual transportation agencies and operators, those of you that are riders, those of you that actually use the service that are on the task force, because the beauty of the task force and the working group is that it's made up of all of these different types of members. And so what it does is that it includes everybody in the process. And so that's one of the reasons, that's one of the biggest reasons why we changed the workflow document so that it can be more inclusive and so that it can have real engagement for real change. So on that note, I'll be more than happy to take some questions on that particular update.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate it, how it's broken as a work plan by all of the various priorities. I see that member Meyer has raised her hand. Go ahead, Susanna, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, Rashida. I'm fairly new to this task force, but really, really excited about being on it. My question is around this spreadsheet, which looks great. And I'm wondering, is this just going to be shown to the members at every meeting? Is it living somewhere where people can check on it if they wanted to see where the progress is going? How's that going to work?
So we have not decided to make it live. Can everybody hear me still?
Yes. There we go.
Okay. So we haven't decided to make it living yet because almost every item that needs to be changed or updated has to go through either the working group or the task force. So when something is brought to your attention, because we've worked with any one of these members, you will know when it changes because it has to be brought to almost all of these committees. So whether we're rolling out a new pilot, whether a decision has been made or has to be brought to the task force for a decision to be made, you will be part of the living document. So it's not changing in the background because every step of the way, that was the purpose of it. These are our next steps. So as we make these next steps and we bring it to you for approval, or we bring it to you to let you know that we're facing certain challenges, you get to contribute or give your thoughts on the matter to help us overcome those challenges. And as they're overcome and we update the document, those who contributed or brought their ideas get to see how it changed the document, how it changed the process. So it's not, if I understand you correctly, it's not sitting in the background as a Google Doc so that when we make changes to it, you can go and look at it and see that we've made changes in the past. The goal of this coordinated group, this task force, the working group that usually looks at this before the task force looks at it, is that it's going to include a lot of engagement. So you're part of the change.
Great. Thank you very much.
I hope I explained that. I hope that made okay.
Yeah, I think so. And she actually gave you a thumbs up. So any other questions or comments on this item that it sounds like we will be seeing on a regular basis as we move forward? So thank you. I think it is good to be able to see progress, and it was good on the work plan to see where progress has already been made before we even updated this. So thank you very much. So if there are no questions or comments, we will move to correspondence and communications, and we do not have any. And so we will move, unless there's anything else for the good of the order, we will move to adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting on December 14th. And that work plan will just have, more updates to it. And I look forward to seeing all of you, hopefully before then. So thank you very much. Thanks, staff.